So where do you start when you want to sort of explore and get into the cloud, right? I think for a lot of enterprises, it really depends at what level the solution is required. And let me explain what I mean. Earlier I spoke about sort of private cloud services and the IT angle of harnessing cloud. On the other side of the coin, there is the real, what I call line of business needs. And historically speaking, in the enterprise, when a VP of sales or sales department or a marketing department or a customer service department, let's say for example, really required an innovative solution to deploy into their environment, they really need it. I think it was true 10 years ago, it's certainly true today. They need it immediately. Today businesses are operating at the speed of the internet. So the days of buy in a software solution, customize it, innovate it, deploy it over the course of a year, and then have it go live, right? Those days are gone. By the time that system goes live, the entire business, the entire industry that company might exist in could have fundamentally changed. Case in point would be the financial challenges that we've had globally in the economy since 2008. No one could have predicted the types of changes that would have happened, for example, in the financial services sector. So the ability to be agile and flexible to adapt to these rapid changes at the speed that people communicate, which these days, with Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and email, you have to be able to sort of bend like the willow with the speed of the internet. This sort of application area is really that on-demand area. And the on-demand area, the software as a service area, I think is a really great first step for a company, whether it be a small company or a large enterprise, to explore the cloud. And let me explain a little bit what I mean by that. So in a software as a service environment, you are essentially subscribing like you would to, let's say, Gmail from Google or Amazon.com, where you sign up with a user account and a password, and you're using an existing service. It's a single instance of the software, but it's multi-tenant. So there are multiple users and different types of entities using this service, but it's the same democratized service for every single user. So regardless of whether or not you're a massive organization or a mom and pop shop, you're still using the same services. This is typically speaking, this is a very low cost of entry, like a per user per month type of subscription-based consumption, akin to what you would equate to your mobile telephone services, as an example. And I often try to explain to people in the sense that when you want to get utilities for your business, you want water, you want electricity, you want broadband services, you simply subscribe to the service from the entity and you pay a monthly bill. You don't go out and buy transformers and build an electric plant on site. You don't put in a water facility inside of your building, right? You subscribe to the utility. And for the line of business users, this is a really great opportunity to get instant value out of a system that's already up and running. So if I'm a procurement person and I need an e-sourcing application, instead of having it built, I would simply give you my credit card, subscribe to the service, and it's instantly on. That's a tremendous way to very slowly and very pragmatically get into the cloud. For companies or entities that do not have sort of software as a service experience, I would advocate 3 steps to getting onto the cloud. The first is to choose the application and get a small set of users together to start small, right? The beautiful thing about SaaS or on-demand cloud computing is that you can start very, very small, and when you want to scale, you can just add users, right? Because the service is already running. So that's a really tangible way to get value. You can sort of try before you buy, right? The second thing I would suggest is create inside of the organization a COE, a Center of Excellence, where you really project manage, because part of the difference in consuming the cloud internally is that it is a service, it's not a product. So the vendor who's providing those services needs to be focused 100% on your success and your satisfaction and retaining you as a client. Because you haven't bought a capital asset, you're just subscribing to a service. So at the end of the contract, if you haven't been delivered the value you signed up for, you cancel and go somewhere else. So the vendor is specifically focused on your success. Having said that, any enterprise-grade sort of application solution that you put into a company requires adoption and change management, right? It's just a tool. You got to learn how to use it. So establishing a center of excellence will allow you to sort of program manage that change from the old way you used to do things to the new way you do things. The last thing I would suggest would also be, if you don't have that experience innately in your organization, you certainly want to focus on a solid partner. And partnerships are out there today that have been wildly successful, where this partner might have specific software as a service experience or specific acumen around a particular industry or solution set. Leverage those partnerships. One of the great things about the cloud is you're removing the burden of managing IT infrastructure so that you can focus on your business, right? It's that 80-20 rule, or some people call it the 70-30 switch, right? Where instead of spending 70% or 80% of your time focusing on keeping lights blinking and software updated, etc., and 20% on your business, you flip that around and let the vendor and the partner help you with the maintenance of that sort of IT empowering system. And you focus on your business. So that's where I'm starting. Single instance multi-tenancy, where you have one application running for hundreds of thousands of different companies on one server bank, thus removing the need for multiple servers. Or whether it's taking a piece of virtualization technology and decreasing the amount of processing power that's required to provide those calls and those services out to the client base, you are significantly contributing towards a reduction of power consumption. And I would also say that this whole concept of sort of outsourcing the IT infrastructure to a data center is allowing companies to not have to buy these systems and deploy them in an environment where it might just become a redundancy, right? So why would I go out and buy 10 new servers for a brand new piece of software if I could simply just have it run as a service out of a pooled set of resources? So, on one hand, it might be bad news for some of the hardware vendors out there, but on the other hand, I think that a lot of the vendors that are in that classic or traditional space are expanding their businesses' portfolios to get into cloud computing and to provide consultative services around the cloud. So, it's an opportunity. You see this evolutionary chain that happened from the advent of computing with tape to reel and punch cards and vacuum tubes and the mainframes of the world, to the distributed computing across client server and desktop computing, to the internet, and now we're at a point where we're actually getting sort of inter-clouds, right? We're getting multiple internet starting to communicate with one another, and virtualized data centers, etc. So it is an evolutionary process through standardization and things of this nature. I think that we are able to have positive impacts on the environment that heretofore were simply not possible, because when there was a need for power, or when there was a need for additional computing power, as an example, you just threw more resources at it, and the impact on the environment through that was massive. Running these mainframe systems was just, you could bring down a city grid by throwing on the power for a supercomputer. And now the computational power that was previously only existed in massive symmetric multiprocessing supercomputers, you can get on the telephone now, right? And that's an incredible change. So I think the industry is responding well to it, but I think that the more we are able to virtualize and leverage the cloud, the better the impact will be.